Donald Trump is not just silent in the face of devastation right now that's currently taking place in red states like Missouri, Indiana, and Kentucky, but Donald Trump is giving them the middle finger. He's not posting about the fact that at least 16 people in those states have died after tornado spawning storms cross the central United States. And there are serious questions about our ability to forecast these storms right now, as Donald Trump has gutted NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and NWS, the National Weather Service. More on that in a moment. Donald Trump's giving them the middle finger. And what I mean by that is he's not even talking about it. He's not addressing it. He's not making any posts or statements. He's not showing any expression of sympathy, but he is posting weird AI videos of himself all day, performing journeys. Don't stop believing. He's doing AI videos of himself right now on social media. Don't stop believing, while people are dying. Red states, blue states across this country. And I'm sure you're not even really hearing about it that much the way we would in the past, because we don't really have the right type of forecasting anymore, and there's not a priority to focus on these things. We're going to focus on it here on the MeidasTouch network. Let's take a look right now what's actually taking place. So at least 16 people are dead after tornado spawning storms across central U.S. Severe storms, including possible tornadoes, have taken the lives of at least 16 people as of this recording in Missouri and southeastern Kentucky. Also devastating storms in Indiana, also in Illinois as well. Now, here's the thing. First off, let me be very clear. Our heart, I wish I could say more than our hearts here at the MeidasTouch Network go out to all of the people affected, but I do want to use our platform to let our audience, the tens of millions of people who watch this every day here and across the world, what's actually happening, to bring attention to your area. So one of the things that we're learning too, and Frank Lutz, who's known really as kind of a right-wing pollster, he goes, or strategist, an NWS, National Weather Service office in eastern Kentucky, was scrambling to cover overnight forecasts on Friday as severe storms moved through much of the eastern U.S. The office in Jackson, Kentucky, no longer had a permanent overnight forecaster as a result of job cuts by DOGE. Remember our reports back in February here on the MeidasTouch Network, where we were warning that the NWS, National Weather Service, and National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration aren't going to have the people to do their work? And these are the groups that do the forecasting and the necessary research. Quietly in the background, they do this all the time to save lives in red states and blue states alike. This from the New York Times. After cuts, a Kentucky weather office scrambled for staffing as severe storms bear down. This office in Jackson, Kentucky is one of several left without an overnight forecaster after hundreds of jobs were recently cut from the National Weather Service. It goes on to say how a National Weather Service office in eastern Kentucky was scrambling to cover the overnight forecast on Friday as severe storms were moving through much of the eastern United States, according to the union that represents the department's meteorologists. Tom Fahey, the legislative director for the union that represents Weather Service employees, said the office in Jackson, Kentucky was one of four that no longer had a permanent overnight forecaster after hundreds of people left the agency as a result of cuts ordered by DOGE, which was led by Elon Musk and Trump. Mr. Fahey said on Friday that because of the threat of flooding, hail, and tornadoes facing eastern Kentucky, the Weather Service had to find forecasting help for the office. A spokesperson for the Weather Service said the Jackson office would be relying on nearby offices for support through the weekend. Now, rewind to February 25th, 2025, where we saw people like James Spann and others warn about these cuts. How the National Weather Service is the backbone of all weather forecasting in America. Their meteorologists work tirelessly with fewer resources than they need, yet provide the data and warnings that save countless lives. When disasters strike, we all rely on the National Weather Service. But this is one of the first groups that got these DOGE cuts and got dismantled. Andy Hazelton, back on February 27, 2025, wrote, "Unfortunately, I can confirm the rumors going around today since I received the email. I don't want to make any comment other than I'm exploring legal options in a couple of avenues. I will probably be deactivating this account for a variety of reasons soon. I always advocate contacting representatives about the importance of the National Weather Service and NOAA's mission. Dr. Daniel Swain, I am now hearing from multiple folks in the past 2 hours," this is on February 27, 2025, "including some who have been personally fired, that mass firings have now commenced within NOAA, including, yes, the National Weather Services." And as Ryan Hall says, "This is devastating news. Today's reporting layoffs at NWS will impact our ability to keep Americans safe from extreme weather. These forecasters are essential frontline workers who save lives during hurricane, tornadoes, and flood seasons. Cutting, or floods in general, cutting these meteorologists isn't just short-sighted, it is dangerous." And we're seeing the practical, real-world effect of it as well as the weather balloons that go up in the sky that help forecasters predict when these storms are coming. Like, we're not sending up those weather balloons anymore anywhere near the levels that are actually needed to keep us all safe. Seth Borenstein, science writer at the Associated Press, was asked in early May about what's the practical effect on the consumer about this. Here's what he had to say. Play this clip.
The ultimate consumer of their product, the American public, how are they going to feel the difference?
You're going to see some forecasts, what they call degraded. They may not be as good. In an emergency, there's some concerns about whether people will be warned fast enough and well enough. If you have radar and counties and tornadoes going everywhere, and you only have one set of eyes, something may be missed. The most concrete thing we can see right now is weather balloons. Weather balloons sound very low tech, but they are sort of the key in weather forecasts. It brings measurements from the atmosphere and the ground, and it sort of is the glue to everything. And normally, the Weather Service puts out 100 balloon launches twice a day. So since this has happened, about 17 different stations are not launching either at all or just once a day. 4 years ago, that was only 9 stations. It means all the information that goes into your forecast, which goes into your apps or your television forecasts, all that information is just a little bit poorer, forecasts are a little weaker. But it's really going to start to affect us in about a month in hurricane season.
Now, this is the former head of NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Association right here, Rick Spinrad. This was from April 11th, 2025, where he was talking about the real serious issues that are going to arise by gutting NOAA and the National Weather Services as well. Here, play this clip.
The impact would be across the nation, across sectors. It would affect just about every American, almost every industry and every community. These misguided cuts are really basically saying, especially when you cut research out of the formula, that what we've got right now in terms of our ability to predict these devastating weather events, climate change impacts, that's good enough. We don't need to make any improvements, and that will cause serious problems.
Because as I understand it, if you stop measuring, that doesn't mean you're stop experiencing the effects of climate change-driven weather patterns. You're just not understanding what's going on or what may happen in the future.
Exactly. I'd love to sit here and tell you, Major, that we know everything about how tornadoes form, how hurricanes form, how tsunamis form. But the fact is we need to continue doing research so that we can improve those forecasts. With people dying, 400 people dying from hurricanes in the Southeast last year, are we really prepared to say, yeah, that's okay? We don't need to make any improvements. So when you cut the research, you cut the ability to improve the forecasts and the predictions. And it's not just hurricanes or tornadoes. The climate side of things includes seasonal outlooks of precipitation, which are used obviously by the agricultural community. The insurance and reinsurance industry wants information about, are we going to have a particularly hot summer? You know, it's 98 degrees in Phoenix today. What's it going to be like in July? The research that will tell us, hey, we got a pretty good idea of what it's going to be like in July. in Phoenix has been cut. So we're basically saying, nope, we're not going to make any improvements on that anymore.
And so it's not just the gutting of NOAA, it's also the gutting of FEMA. And we previously reported how the interim head of FEMA, who was actually a MAGA guy, when he was running for Congress, he referred to himself as the MAGA candidate. Then he was the interim head of FEMA. He was recently fired by dog killer Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem because at a congressional hearing, he was asked, does he want to see FEMA dismantled? And he said, I can't speak for the administration. I will follow their priorities. I don't think FEMA should be destroyed. And on that basis, the Trump regime fired that guy and brought in someone who wants to destroy FEMA. What we've seen from FEMA is that they have refused to provide aid and assistance to red states and blue states, but particularly some notable red states. During some other flooding and horrible, devastating weather, they refused to provide assistance that was requested from Arkansas, from Mississippi. They've refused to provide supplemental assistance from Hurricane Helene to Georgia and North Carolina. I mean, systematically, they are dismantling FEMA and they're just not providing these resources. And for the budget, what Donald Trump refers to as his big, beautiful bill, which is a massive disaster, which is going to add at least $6 trillion to the deficit, take away people's Medicaid, give tax cuts to the billionaires. They have zero funding for FEMA in it. $0 for funding to FEMA. And this is not a blue state. This is a red and blue state issue here. This is Democratic Congressmember Dan Goldman talking about the stakes here. Play this clip.
Let's talk about what is not in this bill. There is no money for emergency management for FEMA. Now, this is not a partisan issue. Red districts suffer from natural disasters certainly as much or more as blue districts. And I can assure you, to my Republican colleagues, that when your district gets a flood or a tornado or a hurricane, you are going to be coming to FEMA begging for money. And I don't want to hear a single word from any of my Republican colleagues about where is FEMA when they need emergency management support.
So the cruelty is the point here. The suffering is the point. We are now, 2 weeks away from hurricane season right now? 2 weeks away, and it's supposed to be a particularly bad hurricane season. We have the Trump regime gutting FEMA, and destroying it, which helps, once the disaster is taking place, working with state and local resources, coordinating all of these things. And then they're also destroying our ability to predict these weather events, to forecast these weather events. We're taking down our weather balloons to be able to get accurate forecasts about storms. Why would you be doing that unless you actually hate the country and you want to cause pain and suffering in the country? I mean, ask yourself, what is the true end game here other than to inflict suffering? And when you think about the dictator's playbook, historically, what is it? It actually is to inflict suffering. In people suffering, in their confusion, in their hurt, and in their pain, that's when a strong man comes in and says, I alone have the answers. I alone can fix it. You have to rely on me, not science. You have to rely on me, not experts. You have to rely on me. I'm going to hand you breadcrumbs, and you should be thankful for it. And then you need to rely on me. That's what's happening here. That's why it's happening. And I'm just trying to point out, too, that this is impacting red states and blue states alike. Here is Democratic Congressmember George Whitesides. He's a former NASA chief of staff before becoming a Democratic Congress member. Here's the speech that he gave on Friday about the harm that's caused by the Trump regime getting rid of vital scientific agencies and gutting them. NASA, NOAA, NIH, and their ability to deal with these horrible weather events that are killing people. Play this clip.
At NASA, satellites that allow us to understand weather patterns, monitor our changing climate, and track fires as they move and spread are at risk of being deorbited. Employees in my home district who work at NASA Armstrong and JPL have no idea what their futures hold. NOAA, an organization that helps families across the country prepare for natural disasters like hurricanes and tornadoes, is being gutted from the ground up. The NIH, which works on groundbreaking cures for diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's and heart disease, has supplied significantly fewer grants and awards to scientists than in previous administrations, effectively halting our work on critical medical advances. From February to April, the administration terminated nearly 700 grants across 24 NIH institutes and centers focused on subjects such as aging, cancer, child health, diabetes, mental health, and neurological disorders. We are not only losing the promise of progress and cures and climate technology, we are losing critical data that allow us to better understand the world we live in and respond to growing threats that we face, both foreign and domestic.
I just feel this is not getting enough attention being covered anywhere else, and I thought it was important to reflect on it. Red states, blue states, purple states, Americans are going to be harmed by this. Government should provide utility and resources to people when we pay taxes. We shouldn't be paying taxes to subsidize the lives of billionaires and decamillionaires. That's not, don't view this as a partisan way. Just view this as an American thing. Well, hit subscribe, help us get to 5 million subscribers. Thank you for watching.
New Meidas merch drop! Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.